So
No problem.
it's
No
going to
problem.
be
All
kind of,
right.
I'll let you get back to it. Oh, and it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. A little bit hectic, a little bit crazy. However, we are lucky to be here on the Pirate Broadcast and interesting people doing interesting things. And I just want to remind everybody that some of the things that you're doing in your life right now are absolutely important to have a little patience, a little consideration, a little empathy on what others are going through. And I just want to let you know that we're here at the Pirate Broadcast and building a community to help you understand and appreciate what other people are doing. And today we have an amazing guest, Bobby Umar. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you, Russ. And it's a little bit hectic and crazy with everyone home, but we're doing the best we can.
Well, it's one of those things that circumstance allows us to go through this process of really understanding and appreciate what we can do. When you're forced to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do normally, you just have to go with the flow, understand and appreciate what the circumstance is, and just continue to move forward. So, oh, and a happy St. Patty's Day. I don't know if that's something that you. I was completely oblivious to it. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, it came by and we didn't notice it. I mean, and
Yeah, it's like I
I'm
completely
I'm
missed it.
I'm mindful of it because my kids are part Irish, so like we should hey St. Patty's Day, so there you go. But yeah, it's gone by.
Yeah. So get us caught up. I haven't, we've been connected for a while, but I haven't caught up with you for a while, and I
Well,
just wanted to catch up, and see what you're up to now. So catch us up to speed. What are you doing here on LinkedIn? And I know you're on Facebook as well, and
yeah,
are you still speaking and you're doing improv
yeah,
or
yeah.
what
Well, I
are,
mean,
what's Bobby up to today?
yeah. I mean, the main stuff that I'm doing is always, I started off as a speaker, but and people get thrown off by the word speaker because I was doing speaking and training and things like that. But essentially, I was an expert in certain areas. So my expert is in leadership development. It started to break down into different expert areas like networking, authentic networking, relationship building. It broke into personal branding, and then social media and digital influence, things like that. So that's how I started speaker. But then I started doing more training, consulting, as well as now coaching. In terms of what's been going on, well, a lot's changed. The speaking industry has shifted in the last couple of years in terms of what people are looking for, what conferences want, what companies
Yeah.
want in terms of training. Training is always there, which is great, but it's always hard, it's a hard sell to get in there and to build a sales funnel over sometimes it takes a year. And then the other big thing is more recently things are really difficult because of the shift with this Corona pandemic because events are being canceled, speaking gigs are being canceled. Some are being shifted. Like so, I had one in April that was moved to September. I had another one in May moved to September. It feels like everything's going to September for some reason. And then I have two more that I anticipate that are going to be shifted as well, and other ones are being canceled. And
Mm,
so some are shifting, which is fine, and that means you get paid later, which is not great.
yeah.
And then other ones are canceling completely, which again is worse. So how am I dealing with that? Well, I mean, one of the things I'm trying to do now is try to focus more on coaching, consulting, because I can do that online with people. So, like for example,
Yeah.
I booked a coaching client later this week to talk about to do career transition coaching or public speaking coaching or content creation coaching, so things like that. So I'm trying to switch to that. I'm also working on some online programs. So I have an online program that I'm launching virtually and online. That, trying to promote that for my speaker mastermind course, as well as one on personal branding. So I'm trying to navigate that. doing a lot of work online. And at the same time, I'm a very social guy, so I get lonely. So
Oh yeah.
so having interaction like this, or I'm gonna do like a daily Zoom call with my friends on Facebook and just start chatting people, and even an hour a day is enough to fuel me for the rest of the day. I mean, my kids and my wife are great, but I also it's nice to have some link to the external world. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then in terms of what I'm doing on LinkedIn, for the most part, it's always been about creating a thought leadership personal brand around who I am, what I do,
Mhm.
using content. So I was doing a lot of video content. I now have a company page which has about 20,000 followers. So that's been pretty good. And then my personal profile, which I've switched to. I used to do videos every day, and then it got to be too much. And then I did 5 times a day. Then I did 3 times a day, and then I started doing once a week. It's got crazy. It's like too busy to engage with everybody. And so now I primarily focus my profile page on with live streams. Like so, I'll do a live stream. It's not consistent, but I typically do a live stream on a Monday, a Wednesday, or Friday in the morning. And if I have a guest, I'll get a guest. And if I can talk about something that's important to me, I'll do that. But mostly, that's the main stuff I'm doing on my profile page is live streams. And then on my company page, that's where I share usually daily content Monday, Friday, around again employee engagement, leadership development, personal branding, the power of connection, as I call it. That's what my broadcast is called. So, but in terms of the time spent on it, I've definitely scaled back my time. It used to be quite a lot, like 15, 20 hours a week. Now it's probably, I'd say 5 to 10.
Mhm.
Um, it is the place where I spend most of my time on social media, like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, the other three. But LinkedIn is the primary source of where I create content, engage people, start conversations. Mostly because I'm trying to build a business and do more with my work. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at this point.
No, that's fantastic because, well, for myself, I've been on most social platforms because I've been doing this for years. And one of the things that I've discovered is, most recently, LinkedIn has really been more productive for me. It's been a place where I've actually built some really amazing relationships
Yeah,
and real friends,
yeah.
honest friends. And it's like I have a relationship, I have communities, and I just want to give a shout out to some of these people that are here today because who wants to be a pirate? Well, Ted Lazinski
Arr.
wants to be a pirate. He's a pirate. And Lori Knudsen, good morning. Thank you so much. I owe some people a tutorial on how to connect because LinkedIn overall, I don't know if you found this to be true, Bobby, or not
Mhm.
on your live feeds, but Gabriel's saying good morning. But the live feeds on LinkedIn are difficult to find. And it's also difficult to find out who is actually on the feed and getting the comments. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
okay, we're doing the comments here. And you can do the comments from Facebook, you can do the comments from Twitter, you can do the comments from YouTube, but not LinkedIn.
Right.
So I'm a little I'm often frustrated, uh, on occasion with LinkedIn, only because I can't see the comments from LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I've already met with the LinkedIn technical lead for LinkedIn Live, and I've gave my feedback. You need to. This is a band-aid solution what they have right now, having a third-party software to, like unlike Facebook Live or Instagram Live or even Twitter Live, you can see people commenting right away. It's like it's just it ends one machine. So
Yeah.
they need to fix that, and they have Microsoft owning them. Like, okay, get to it, guys. So I'm looking forward to when that happens. I think it's going to happen at some point, but they're definitely behind in that area, but I can see the feed too, and everyone's commenting. That's great. Like, the only way to know they're there is they're commenting. So we appreciate the comments. I think that's great.
Yeah, thank you for the comments. Let me know that you're here so I can comment back because I do go back in the comments and I respond to the comments. At least I attempt to do that as often as possible. And I just want to make sure that people, let me see who's here today. So there's a couple people. Sherry Lawley,
Yeah.
Saeed, thank you so much for being here. Wendy, yeah, and Gabriel. We got Gabriel in here and Steve Sullivan watching live from Georgia. The thing the thing about what we're doing, and I did the pirate broadcast as an exercise to practice how I could actually implement this for other people. And I built that out. Now, now I've launched the Pirate Syndicate. So I do production, and I've trained a team to, do this production for other people, and
Mhm.
and I've got a couple of launches coming up. And in fact, I have a webinar tonight that
Nice.
is going to be going tonight and tomorrow, and I think I have a workshop on Thursday. So uh, the whole point though is like you say, share what you know, do what you can to help others, and it always seems to come back to you. I mean, is that what your experience has been?
Well, I think the general idea, and this is something that I also espouse, is that, um, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, what's your objective, right? So, I have an objective here to build a brand for myself and help people in this certain way. So I usually focus on, creating more alignment, fulfillment in your lives for personal branding and to develop leaders and things like that, and develop thought leadership for people. So that's my objective for being here. Number two, then who's your target audience, right? So who are these people? What are they going through? How do they feel? What are their pain and bliss points? How can
Hmm.
you serve them? And then the third part is, okay, now how do I then create value for them? So everything I do, from my posts to my programs to video content, whatever I share, it's about creating value for these people. And then once I do that, that's when you start conversations, you start connections, you build relationships, and that's when the magic happens. You either build business or you build friendships,
Yeah,
right? And I've had some amazing connections. Already built community, and so for me, I've
yeah,
been blessed to have community, mostly some great friends on this platform. Like when I think of people that it's amazing because I've met, like, good examples. Lila Smith. I met Lila Smith on this platform, and then pretty soon she came to Toronto and went to spoke at my event, and then I brought her to a conference I was at in Africa. We both went there together. We hung out. Like, it's amazing. Like,
yeah,
that's so cool. I just think that's really cool. And then there's a community of people that, when you're sometimes when I'm going through difficult stuff, I'll share with a community here, and people will comment and offer support and offer advice, and I just think that's really amazing. And
yeah,
then,
yeah. I got her coming up on the show here shortly.
oh,
So
great, great. And then I think in terms of the business thing, I think that's one where I think for me it's hit and miss. Sometimes it works well, and other times I don't think it works as well. So
sure,
I think for many of us, um, we have to figure that out. We have to figure what's the best way that works for us. I'm not much of a seller. I don't like the, like, hey, drop my program, eh, blah, blah, blah. Uh, like, it's
yeah.
there, and whenever I do a post where I say, okay, here's my program, sign up below. I just feel I just feel so, oh god.
I think well, having been in comedy and stand up and improv, it would be really great to have that skit going on. I've talked to some people about doing a skit, when it's like,
Yeah.
okay, first, as soon as I hit submit to the button that says, here you going, this is what you're doing, this is why you're doing it. Hey, buy my stuff. And it's like crazy.
Yeah, and
So
I don't do enough comedy. I mean, I one time I did a bit on networking fails, and I just started acting. So here's all the networking fails, right? And people loved it, but I like, I just don't do that. I mean, I should. I should probably do more comedic stuff on it because it's
yeah, I think
it's
you should
so
do more.
easy.
Yeah.
Here's how not to sell on LinkedIn. And I could do this whole thing about that. And
I
it's
think
kind of funny.
I think you could really create some of those short, quick improvs
Yeah,
on TikTok, and then bring them into LinkedIn.
yeah,
So
for sure, for sure.
do some spoofs. You could do
Yeah.
like the whole thing. It's like, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about how long have you been on LinkedIn, and what's your process for starting a conversation? I mean, do you have a system that you like to follow and work through, or do you come on? It's like anything else. Life gets busy and it slows down, and then you come back online and do that. Are you fairly consistent on your LinkedIn process?
That's a good question. So first off, I've been on LinkedIn since the beginning. Like, I was one of the first million users back when they started.
Hmm.
So that's great. And then I basically did nothing for a long time. I just posted articles all the time and nothing, no engagement. But then 2 years ago, when Microsoft bought them out, I was informed by Swish Goswami, Bobby, you need to engage more. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just started testing things. So I just did like a daily tip, and
Uh-huh.
within 5 days of my daily tip, it just started to take off. Like, wow, okay, there's major engagement here, better than anything I've seen on the other platforms. So then I was in. Now, in terms of, and then again, that process has evolved in terms of text content to video content, now live stream content, daily versus 3 times a week versus once a week, and I'm shifting back and forth all the time. But
Uh-huh.
uh, but the general take is at this point, my system currently is on my company page because my company page took off about a year ago, and
Yeah.
now like wow, I 20,000 followers. I kind of couldn't believe it. So I I now post there Monday to Friday, once a day, once per day in the morning, and I'll just share a piece of content. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's insightful, sometimes it's image, sometimes it's a video, but it's a mix of things of I think that are interesting to the people that are on that page. And then on for my profile, usually it's going to be I've booked an interview with somebody for a live stream, so let's do it. So for example, I booked one this Friday with Stuart Knight, although it was meant to be live, so maybe it'll have to be. We're not going to do live anymore. He has kids, I have kids. We're both staying at home. We may have to
Yeah.
shift. We have to shift that, but typically I do that. And so how do I create conversations? Well, really, it's through the content. If you create content and you ask them compelling question and ask people to engage, then that's where the conversations start. They then message you or you message them and you start conversations. And pretty soon you pick up the phone and see what happens. And so that's really for me my primary way. I haven't. I also sometimes do direct messages. Like I'll send. One of the things I've been doing recently, since about I guess the fall, is starting to email people more, like
Yeah.
emailing people 20 people a day, like, hey, what's going on, how can I help you, like just offering to start a conversation, see if I can leverage my network to help them. I mean, I have 35,000 followers on LinkedIn. Why not help people with connections? And
Yeah.
and if it provides value, great. If I can share their posts on my Twitter feed, which has like almost 500,000 followers, if I can share them on LinkedIn to help them, great. I mean, now that I have influence, why not be able to help people with it?
Do you feel that video plays a big role in maintaining a connection with people?
Video is huge. I think it's the biggest way to create a connection. I often state this in my keynotes where I say, video is the future now. And there's a great
Yeah.
stat from Forrester's research that says that if a picture tells 1,000 words, a 1 minute video 1 minute video is worth 1.8 million words. So like it's just incredible connection because you see my face, you see my hear my tone, you see my body language. Is just all There's so much more connection with this. It's the second best thing to being in person, right? And it's far better than any sort of video or sorry image or text based post that you could ever do. So whether you send video messages to people or whether you do videos or live streams, it's so powerful. So I'm a huge believer and advocate for it, and I try to encourage everyone. And people who are scared, I'm like, look, I get it, but like, it's just pretend it's just you and me in person.
This
Now just change
this
the
space is
video.
radio. I don't know
Well,
why
yeah,
I'm
me
up to
too. No, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. But I go to live networking events and I'm talking to people. It's the same thing, no matter where you are. It's just pretend you're talking to
yeah.
people, and that's it.
Just talk to the individual in the camera.
Yeah.
I had Roger Wakefield on
Oh
yesterday,
yeah.
and we had some really great conversation about how he had utilized video, and I mean, his business was ready
It's
to
amazing.
fall down. It was a great story and a very powerful story about how video has made a huge difference in his business, and it's just taken off, and he's
It's
just
one of my favorite
doing
stories.
some amazing
In
things
case
right
everyone doesn't
now.
know, the plumber. So
Yeah,
everyone knows him now.
Roger Wakefield,
Roger
the
Wakefield, the
plumber.
plumber. Like yeah,
He's a
that's
plumber.
amazing.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I've been passionate about video for a long time, and I started out, and I have radio and television and advertising, and so this doing this that we're doing right now, Bobby. 5 years ago was really difficult.
Mm,
10 years ago, it was impossible,
yeah.
and just even you know, podcasting
Mm.
was more challenging, and it's become easier and easier access, and I just think that the people that are willing and able to take advantage of it, to be seen, be heard, and be talked about. It's an incredibly results. However, I think the people that are interested in building authority in the market and being an influencer or an encourager, like as I like to say, it's really powerful tool. And I think I encourage everybody to join in that and see what they can do. So
I agree. I agree. And a lot of the work that I'm doing, even when so like whether I'm coaching people to transition their career or build a thought leadership personal brand or to get into public speaking, I always talk about content and creating video content. So it's something I'm pushing everyone to do. I don't care who you are. Like, because even if you're feeling shy or you're an introvert, there are ways for you to take ownership and empower yourself to create content that works for you, and you
yeah.
practice and rehearse for you in a way that you feel comfortable, and then you start to see those results.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing the pirate broadcast 5 days a week for a while now, over 110 episodes.
Wow.
And I converted it into a podcast. I post, I create content from it. I generate this content because if I highlight people like yourself and I share, the bigger the community gets,
Yeah.
we build a community, the pirate community. So it's really powerful tool to be able to generate this conversation, and really what it boils down to is social media is just a tool to start a conversation with.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that I get a few messages from people saying, why do you bring other people on your program? Why don't you just talk about your stuff and share your content? It's not focused. I'm like, look, um, I'm happy to provide value and my expertise to my audience that wants to see and hear from me. But I think that it's good for me to show that I'm also willing to learn from other people and get their insights. I'm also willing to expand my network, even if that conversation is not necessarily aligned to my current network. It's about building relationships and showing connection and sharing insights, and I just think that's so important. And, I had someone on my broadcast who was a matchmaker, a matchmaker for people. Love, right? I mean,
Yeah,
who doesn't want love? Now, does that match my target audience's needs? Probably not. But you know what? Even if it helps a few people or gets them to think about matchmaking as a business, as a brand, as what it's like for the in the for workers or someone else there who's struggling to find a relationship, I think it's great. So I totally do that, and I think it's really important to show people that.
well, and I think there's power and diversity in topics because every conversation that we have, Bobby, can strike an idea or a thought that we would not normally have
Right.
if we weren't having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've had some amazing conversations about subjects that and my curiosity has always been, what is it that brings people to where they are today? You started out, you didn't wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a keynote speaker and a coding," right? It was a journey. So what was that journey
Yeah.
like for you? I mean, where did you start out? I mean, where were you 10 years ago? What were you doing 10 years ago?
Well, for me personally, I was still doing speaking, but I started my journey about 14 years ago. So essentially,
Okay.
I mean, the way I describe it for
There
me is
was a
that
beginning. My point is there was a beginning, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. I mean, for me, it started out. I always thought of myself as I used to say, a lost leader. So like, I felt lost in my first job as an engineer. I felt unfulfilled in my job, my work doing performing arts. I
Uh-huh.
felt stuck when I was doing brand marketing, and so took the time to dive in my brand to figure out what I want to do. We also dealt with a health crisis. So I became diabetic, and my wife almost died of E. coli. And we're like, wow, what? And this all happened with a span of like 3 months. And we were
Oh,
like,
wow.
wow, what are we going to do with ourselves? Like, what is important to us? And we really revisited spending time to think about doing the things we really cared about. And so that's when I dove into my brand and figured, okay, what is it that I really care about? What is it I really want to do? Because I wasn't feeling any sort of direction. And having done that process, I came up with 5 things. Number one, Bobby loves people. Bobby loves to nurture. Bobby loves to persuade, influence. Bobby loves to perform, present, and Bobby loves diversity. And you take those 5 things, it kind of gave me what are the things I can do, and that's when I decided to become a professional speaker and trainer. And having done that, I haven't looked back. and I think that that's been a great part of the journey to dive into your brand. And then I revisit the brand, but like what I'm doing now is the same thing I've been doing for 14 years, and it's been great. And I evolve as I go along. Like things change and shift a bit, but my number one thing is I love to be on stage. I love to like just wow, wow a crowd and get 1,000 people riled up and get them excited, and that type of stuff really feeds me. But in doing so, I'm doing other things as well that are directly or indirectly aligned to that, including coaching, training, or even running events. Because I'm running the Toronto LinkedIn local events. We've done 16 of them so far, so I help run those through DYPB, my Discover Your Personal Brand startup. So I'm doing that stuff too as well. So it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's more exciting when you can live in your genius zone, right?
Right.
And it's really fulfilling when you can do something that you enjoy and you really appreciate, and you feel that you're giving back to the community. You feel like you're contributing your value in the best possible way, and that's really gratifying. And I think a lot of people, they get in this groove or this rut of not knowing what to do next, and how to deal with it, and how to produce results next. So I think it's really important for us to really think about, especially now, right now in history, there's so many opportunities out there to look and decide and actually understand what other people are doing. It's like I tell my son and some my nephews and nieces about, hey, go out and interview some people, find out what the job that you job, find out what more about what it is day to day, you know, and understand what they're doing in their day to day activities, and see if that's something that sounds appealing or not. Because if you go down a career path, and you get to the end and you think, well, this isn't what I imagined it was. It's like, well, you didn't do your homework. It's like, it's really, it's interesting and fascinating to me, and it's one of the things I love to share on the Pirate Broadcast, is the idea of what others are doing. What's it like,
Yeah, and it's not
because
it's not all roses. I mean, it's very difficult and challenging at times. I mean, I remember the first little bit, one of the hardest things I had to deal with was just knowing my value, right?
yeah,
Am I doing something worthwhile? Do people really care about this stuff? Will they pay me? How much do I charge?
yeah.
And I could never, when someone asked me how much you charge, oh, well, and it was just
Know
really,
your value.
yeah, knowing your value is a very difficult thing in the beginning, and even now, like I still struggle with that. I mean, there's certain things I know. Boom, this is what it is. My keynotes, boom, this is what it is. When I have
Yeah,
training for GMAT stuff, boom, this is what it is because I've been doing it for so long. But then the
yeah.
new stuff, how much is it for your new program? Oh well, I'm thinking about this price. I don't know. So, uh, it's a constant struggle. And then being alone all the time and trying to stay focused on what matters to drive your business, like it's constantly a big challenge with it. And now we have this new challenge of working from home and trying
Yeah.
to navigate that. So there's always something around the corner that's going to challenge you, but it's kind of exciting. Being an
Well,
entrepreneur to me is very exciting.
it's absolutely exciting because, growth comes from challenges, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
where the growth happens. So, Bobby, before we check out and take off and go about our day, what's one thing that you really want to leave? One impactful message that you want to leave with the community today and the pirates. Now that you're a pirate and part of the community, you have to
Yeah,
leave
it's
something with
exciting.
you have to leave something with the pirates, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would want to leave with everybody is that it's okay to ask for help. Every single one of us struggles in some way or another with whatever we're doing. Like I struggle with my weight, I struggle with fitness. I sometimes struggle with my business or selling. And so, we all struggle. We're all there. We're all human. So it's okay. It's actually courageous to ask for help. And so many people just don't step up and just ask for help. They're too afraid of being vulnerable or, feeling like a failure or whatever it might be. But like it's completely okay to do that. And I think that if you ask for help, and you're authentic and real about it, then people like myself and you and others will step up and help you. And it can be something as small as just asking a question, but
Yeah.
it could be even bigger as having a conversation. But just have the courage to just start and ask for help. And I think that That to me is the biggest lesson for a lot of people out there, whether you're in the corporate space, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're in between jobs. But there's help out there for you, and there's people like me that want to help you, and other people that want to help you as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bobby, for taking the time. I know you're at home with the family, and stay safe, stay sane, and have a little patience. As always, kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day.
Thank you, Russ.